Good evening, everyone. It is 5 p.m. on October 28th, and I would like to call the City Council work session to order. We have one item on the agenda, and that is regarding the Major League Baseball required and other suggested improvements to Toyota Field and the stadium. I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Finley and his staff to get us started.
Yeah, so I think we'll start. I know one of the things we had been waiting on that Gerald had helped us obtain was some estimates on the one-story and the four-story that we could kind of sink our teeth into and make sure they were where we thought where they needed to be. Gerald, if you had a couple minutes to come up and talk through what you found, what you were given.
So we had two general contractors.
It doesn't sound like it's on.
Try
again.
Use your outside voice,
We
Joe.
had a new sound system installed, and supposedly they fixed the feedback problem, but now we're not hearing.
There you go.
Okay.
Anyway, we contacted two general contractors to look at our scope of work and design development drawings. There are some assumptions in here. I mean, this is not a firm fixed price by no means. Okay? This is based on those drawings and the scenarios that we give them through the alternative. So it's a wide variety as far as cost goes.
Just a second. They still can't hear you out there. The audience can't hear you.
Turn around and talk to him, we can hear him.
All right.
Or turn sideways.
So we went through and looked at
gotta
the
get closer.
the
You gotta get
drawings,
closer.
went over that.
Get right up on it, and then they can hear you.
All right. So we went through the drawings with the general contractors to come up with our pricing scenario on this. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you got on these spreadsheets or what the alternatives mean to that, so we can have a better understanding of where we're at as far as pricing goes.
Okay, why don't you just take us through it and give
Okay.
us the highlights?
All right, so on the single story under GC1, I believe Mayor shared these spreadsheets with you. Construction cost was $8.4 million. With the new locker is an alternate 50,000. The below grade waterproofing, now that's not waterproofing around the perimeter of the base building, that's waterproofing under the slab. So we make sure water don't come up in the slab on the dugout building or the visitor locker room building. And then we had an alternate 6, was deleting the parking lot. It was originally designed that we would put a parking lot right outside the fenced area, but with us purchasing the other property, we don't think we would need that. We would park to the adjacent lot that we would build. So that would credit us back $361,000 of our original base price. And then the aggregate piers is $550,000. That is to build a four-story building either now or later to be able to do that. We're going to have to put those piers in the ground to do that because of the subsoil conditions that are out there. And then construction contingency, that's based on 5% of the construction cost. The owner provided items under that is $237,000. That's access control, some furniture, cameras, security camera system is about what is included in that one. And then our third-party testing, it's testing of the concrete and inspection during the construction part of it. And then the restroom accessory is about $8,000 for that. So if we move over to the right on construction costs of the full build project, this GC quoted $22,942,000. We had an alternative folding storefront, and I believe Mary Beth sent you some drawings and illustrations of what that would look like. They'd be real similar to the doors that we put in the multipurpose rooms at the community center, where the wall folds up out of the way and opens up the space, where you would have beams and stuff obscure your view of the field. So those would just accordion over to the side. So those on all three levels would be $450,000. Filling of the concrete food service, that's just an alternative. Whether we paint the floor, we would save $7,500 if we just sealed the concrete versus painting the floor there. $50,000 for new lockers, again, the below-grade waterproofing. And then the power for the concert, it was requested that we put additional power out next to the outfield.
Outfield fence or just scoreboard? Okay.
Or additional hookup to have additional power out there when we had concerts in the area. And then again, there's your allowance on the parking lot. Aggregate piers will be the same. And then balcony extensions, I believe Mary Beth sent those also, what those would look like. And that's $1.6 million to add the balcony extensions to all 3 floors. And then construction contingency is based on 5%. And then the owner provided items there would include the IT security camera, the audiovisual access control, all the furniture, the signage inside and out of the building, and then all the food service equipment is included in that $3.1 million.
Okay, so the total for this is, or what is this that you're first presenting versus the second sheet that we have?
So you had 2 quotes. So the first quote, just make sure, on the single story, it was 9.5 million. On the second quote, it was 6 million. And on the 4-story, the first quote was 30 million, and the second quote was 19.7 million.
Which they did not quote the 4 alternatives, which totaled back to 2.6 million in the first quote.
Okay, which would give us 22.3 million. Okay.
Are the quotes different because they're different companies presenting the quote?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so then the question, Margie, what? It's a work session, yeah. So in this case, what would be the disparity as you saw? I mean, that's a pretty big disparity in the 2 of them. You do this all the time. Give us a better idea of where we're looking at the higher or the lower, or you can't really tell?
You can't really tell. It's, like I said, it's a conservative number between if you look at construction cost of 15.5 million versus construction cost of 22.9. You know, once you develop true construction drawings, you'll have a better understanding. There are still many things that's got to be worked out, and you got to look at hypotheticals, and most of that's to do with steel and concrete and placement, stuff like that. The 22.9, I talked to that contractor. He added in a little more percentage in for inflation rates and what the pricing market's going to do. The second contractor went off today's pricing.
Well,
We don't have any.
if you look at what is the file GC2, which is on the front page of the handout that we have, they did not price alternate 1, alternate 2, alternate 8, or alternate 9, whereas GC1 did. So that is
$2.6 million.
part of the difference right there.
Correct.
So did they,
If you look at the 2 numbers, the 22.9 and the 15.7, that's without any alternates or any deductions.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
are those piers going to need to be done regardless? I mean,
If you ever plan on building on top of this, it would have to be done now.
the piers have to be done because of the foundation, is the point, right?
If you ever plan on building on top of this building, you'll have to put those in now. Now,
Because the soil won't
you
hold it.
make a decision now that we're not going to ever build on top of it. We're just going to build just the locker room. No, sir, you don't have to put them in. But you will always be limited to not doing anything on top of it.
But you may have issues with that foundation later, so the piers need to go in.
If you make the decision to build all, I'm not trying to avoid your question, but I'm trying to
Okay.
give you a truthful answer.
So I guess why did one contractor do it and the other one not? Is the other one not confident in doing the piers?
The other one's not confident that we wouldn't have to put in concrete piers instead of aggregate piers.
Okay.
Yeah, aggregate piers are cheaper than the concrete piers would be.
Right.
So Gerald, would it be safe to go ahead and say on the GC1 quote, the pier is 550,000? Would it be safe to just go ahead and put where it has TBD, go ahead and put that 550,000 to at least know that this total figure will be closer to $6,550,000? Is that a safe thing to do?
Well, he just said that this contractor that didn't bid it
Right.
thinks they need to be concrete, which would be more
more
expensive
expensive.
than the aggregate ones.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the geotechnical engineer and the civil engineer and the structural engineer think we can do it with aggregate piers instead of concrete piers. Like I said, the delta in that's 2.6 million.
Right.
So at least factor in that 2.6 million into the second quote to at least give you equal playing field on that.
Right, so the 6 million goes closer to 8 million. And just to recap, we have to do the first project according to Major League Baseball. We have to do this to keep the trash pandas in town, to keep Toyota Field a baseball field. We have to do this first project, which is now at about $8 million. Is that correct?
So that is correct, to meet the criteria that Major League Baseball has put on everyone.
Right.
I will say that Garrett and I, Mark, had a conversation with Peter, what's the last name? Whitmore, yep, from Major League Baseball on Thursday and talked through this. One, they do understand our situation from a city standpoint to a certain extent as far as where we are. I mean, they understand we built it right before they took over. And also with Ralph and his mentality, and it comes back to old school baseball. And it's basically, old school baseball was your home team has a great locker room, and not that your visitors was bad, it just wasn't as big.
That's correct.
They are changing that, and then, of course, the female umpires and the female coaches. So we talked to them about what else can we expect, and they said, well, right now, we'll never guarantee anything. There would be nothing more, but when we reset, typically a reset happens once every 20 years, and this was the reset. And so, again, you guys built early, but you built early at the lower prices, where others right now, again, as we've talked about, are in the $70, $80 million range of what they're having to build. So, and they were very understanding of where we are, and yet they understand our timeline right now. We have to keep moving on this, and we did with the one story, so we will meet the criteria with that. This discussion is, do we feel like there's enough information here and enough want to move from a one-story to a four-story? And when Gerald's done kind of talking about what it's going to cost, and Mark is ready to kind of show you where Ball Corp feels like they in turn would like to respectfully ask that we move to 4 stories, and here's how we would pay for it.
Okay, I've got one question about both bids, both sets of bids. You've had a deduction for taking out parking lot work. And the parking lot that we recently purchased, it's going to need some type of improvement. Do we have an estimate on that cost, or should it be included?
I haven't been involved in those conversations.
So when Mark gets ready to present, he does have a number in his
Okay.
numbers for that.
Okay, so that would be in addition to?
Correct.
These numbers, okay, all right. I can wait.
Gerald, since we don't have architectural drawings, what did you use to get this quoted?
We have design development drawings from the architect. So
Okay.
we've got 84 drawings in a packet, okay? But they're not finished to a detail where you could get a firm fixed price at. So I believe council has approved for the construction drawings of the base building, but you haven't approved construction drawings for the full build.
Okay, all right.
These are budgetary numbers, okay? So I want to make sure everybody understands that. We think we're close, but it's budgetary numbers.
Okay. Are you at a gimme putt, or are you at let me see how you putt?
The years' experience that I have looking at these and looking at drawings, I think we're probably somewhere in the $25 million, $26 million range. But until we get full drawings, okay, so when we add like these balcony extensions, okay, so you have to add steel that'll cantilever that. So that adds to the height of the steel that's underneath it holding up the next floor,
Right.
plus the thickness of that concrete also. So that adds to cost, okay?
Right.
So you can't have thermal pane windows, you've got to have plate windows, because of the impact of the baseball and stuff like that. So it has to be laminated glass instead of thermal pane glass like you would have here. All that adds to cost, so we've got to finish that design out and make sure we understand what the true cost is, yeah.
Okay, well, that's fair, thank you.
Any other questions for Gerald?
You can always come back up.
Y'all ready to move on?
Don't go far.
Okay.
So, Mark, if you would please come up with Ball Corps and be able to give us a little bit of an idea of, well, how would we get there if we decided to get there?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I tried to make this as simple as possible for the purpose of illustration here. We estimated a total cost of 22.5, which was toward the lower end of the estimates that Gerald just presented. Might be higher, might be lower, but we got to start with a number. So what I'm showing here is an estimated cost of $22.5 million, plus the parking that's been already purchased or will be purchased at $4 million, parking improvement of $1.5 million. I don't have any kind of hard quotes for that. That was an estimate from Louis Breland. In fact, he was, I think, $1,250,000 was the last number I heard from him. To be conservative, I bumped that up to $1.5 million. I don't know what kind of city resources might be available to perform some of that work. Estimated bond issuance cost of $1 million. I don't have a good estimate for that either, but that's probably about where I would expect it to come in. So a total cost of the building, plus the parking, plus the improvements, plus the bond issuance cost of $29 million. The city has formally suggested that they were going to contribute some money in cash for the first floor of the building, estimated cost of $7 million. So your estimated bond amount would be approximately $22 million. I guess I'll pause there for a second. Is everybody kind of tracking that math? Okay. If you assume a 5% rate of interest and a 25-year amortization, you'd come up with an annual bond payment of approximately $1,550,000. So that's what I would anticipate if we're going to bond the project, that, plus or minus, depending on where the ultimate costs come in, where interest rates come in, all those things. For the purpose of conversations, I think the bond payment would be $1,550,000 for the new building. Now, I'm going to show you kind of how we're going to get there.
Thank you.
You can get tired walking up here, getting this different piece of paper.
But I didn't want people looking ahead.
You don't like me cheating.
He's been to our meetings before.
Thank you.
The suspense.
So the current Madison ballpark bond payment annually is approximately $3.2 million. I think it's a hair less than that. Plus the additional bond payment that we just talked about is $1,550,000. That gets to a total estimated Madison ballpark bond payment of $4,750,000. What we've talked about as a method for paying for the building is to subtract some element of hotel tax revenue. One methodology was to take 50% of hotel tax revenue, which is estimated $2,750,000, which would leave ballpark's rent payment to go from approximately $1.5 million to $2 million in the first year.
Do you have an extra copy of that for Roger, or does he already have it? I'd like him to look at it alongside us.
Yes, Bessie.
Ms. Bartlett, do you mind if I make a statement?
Not at all.
All right. Ms. Coe, Ms. Daly, if you guys don't mind, this is our work session. I'm trying to understand. Oh, ma'am, you have been saying quite a bit. Both. Excuse me? Life's not fair, and it
Okay.
comes to town once a year. I'm asking you, please, to allow us to pay attention to the gentleman speaking. This is our work session.
Okay, I'm going to call order in the chambers. I'm going to order anyone to be removed if they are not quiet. Let's proceed.
So under this scenario, Ballpark's prepared to backstop any excess over this, right? So the idea of taking the city's total obligation of bond payment 1 plus bond payment 2 minus some element of hotel tax revenue gets to Ball Corps' obligation. It's that simple. So that's what I've tried to illustrate here.
Okay, and with council, when we handed out the spreadsheets, and we got, I hope everybody got a copy, I guess I've got the newest ones here. So let me hand those out. Let's go this way, Teddy. I made them big so everybody could kind of read them.
Appreciate that.
Well, I've got eyes just like you guys, so I know it's important, so we'll keep going this way.
Eddie didn't get a copy.
He's gonna do it.
I'm always last.
Hold on, Teddy, I got it. Yeah, there you go, okay? How many we need, one more? One more. Okay, so now, going back to the newest batch of, and I'll go ahead, Roger has these, but this is the one Roger had, if you'll give that to Roger, please. So, if you go across the very top of what your sheet is, all the way over to the far right-hand side, for 2025, the estimate of our current system of how we collect lodging tax would be 2.641 million. So when you see Mark's number of 2.75, he's close. The only difference is where we have certain hotels going certain places based on town Madison, non-town Madison, 2% plus $1. He just simply went 50-50 lodging tax, which we understand there's a lot of different pieces that would need to be there. But even the current system we have right now meets the criteria that he has for the lodging tax in here. Then the delta right now would be $2 million when this started. And what Ball Corps has said is, we'll take that. And then as you can see, as lodging tax continues to grow, their number continues to come down until they can get it where they'd hope to be, and that's $1 million a year, each and every year from them. And then our lodging tax would continue to grow accordingly.
We already get $1 million from them every year, correct?
That is correct.
You get
Well,
1.4
How
right
much
now.
more will we be getting
1.4.
when we do the 1-story versus 4-story that we will be getting from them each year
About 600,000.
for either project?
Well, I think the way they have it set up, in where they'd like to get to, is where the lodging tax aspect of it continues, as it continues to grow. It's what meets a lot of the delta there, yeah.
And I appreciate lodging tax. I'm wanting to know what Ball Corps is going to give us. Like, right now, they give us $1 million a year for our current stadium. Our
1.4.
Yeah.
One
1.4.
Well, they're actually at 1.6, but that's at 1.5, but yeah.
It had to be $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a minimum.
A minimum, so they have to give $1 million, then more based on sales and all of that. I'm asking, how much more are they going to give? We're changing that.
In the beginning, they give more, right?
Right.
Because the delta hasn't caught up.
Right.
But as the delta of the
Moves
lodging tax
on.
goes up, then their payment will come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of it, you still end
Right.
up with more money.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that's if we go the 4-story route.
Correct.
What I see is if we go the 1-story route, because of the cash contribution that Mark showed on here, essentially we're paying for that
Correct.
with or without Ball Corps, right?
Correct.
So the additional dollars, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the additional dollars that come to the table to help offset the cost for the 4 is only if the 4 come. That's what I see here on paper. I just want to make sure I'm reading that right.
That's correct, plus parking, right? So we're talking about rolling the approximately $5.5 million into the bond payment for the parking, which we would help service,
Right.
which wouldn't be available under the 1-story scenario.
Right, so under the 1-story, then we've got to pay for the 1-story and do the parking
Right.
all on our own. Whereas with the 4-story, there is cost sharing coming forward for the 4-story plus the parking.
Correct.
In which we've already, if I remember right, we've already footed the bill for the 4 million on the parking, I think. Did we approve that last meeting or the meeting before?
Last meeting.
Last meeting, okay. All right. Thank you, sorry. Does that help, Mara, at all?
Yes,
Because I think I know where you were headed, but I want to
Right.
make sure. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And then their contribution, at least if I understand right now, is 1.4 at a minimum. I think they've been paying a little bit. Has it been above that, maybe?
Yeah, 1.6 this last year,
Yeah.
Mayor was saying.
Yeah, they were. yeah.
Okay, all right, so a little bit above that. So they're, at least, let's just say it's next year, right? They would pay, and this came up next year, if it all aligns with Mark's numbers, they would have paid somewhere south of right at about 400 in addition,
Right. So
Roughly.
round it off to 2 million, maybe.
total, not
Total. Oh, right, total.
increase. Right, okay, so.
Okay, thank you.
And then as lodging taxes in either scenario were to continue to grow, which Lord knows, I hope they do, because there's a hotel being built, so people need to stay somewhere. But as they continue to grow, then their cost contribution would come down. But I think what I'm also hearing, though, is that that in the updated proposal is to reduce their backstop, I think, from the 1.4 to the 1, or is that, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, they've always been in a position where they pay $1 million a year.
$1 million?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they would continue to do that, a minimum, and that would still be the minimum. So when lodging taxes rate, get to 3.6 million here, and they added their $1 million, you're at 4.7, and that's the payment. And that's by the 2030. So within 5 or 6 years, you're then having more, they're giving their $1 million, the lodging tax is taking care of itself, and we're continuing to grow ours.
Okay.
We get that, so.
But I think the other thing that's not been covered that we need to make sure we understand is, at the end of this, we own a 4-story building, not a 1-story building. We own a 4-story building that produces income, not sits around. And it also has a value when you go out to get a loan. When they appraise that, there's an appraisal value there, which gives us the opportunity to potentially bond more money because we're, a better house, if you will.
I mean, my personal thought is I definitely support being prepared to go up, doing the beams, whether they're the aggregate or the concrete or silly putty, whatever they're made of. I definitely support that so that we can be prepared. I just don't feel like we can do another, me personally, $20 million in addition to the $48 million for the stadium, the $37 million from the flyovers. That puts us well over $100 million of investment. I personally at this point, moment in time, would prefer to do what minor league baseball is requiring of us. And that's just where I am.
Could we get a little input from Roger, just in
Oh,
terms
sure.
of the numbers that you've just seen, in terms of what assumptions are being made?
I had one
And allow
question.
us to ask questions. Oh, you have a question for?
Yeah, how did you come up with 5%? Has Rush given his number on what we would get for a bond, how much a bond would cost?
About right now, this average.
Okay, because before we held off because the numbers weren't looking good. So is this a good sound number?
4.5% to 5% right now is a good number, yes.
When you say a good number, you mean the market number? Yeah, okay.
An accurate number, not necessarily. We want,
I can't say it's accurate because I
Okay.
don't know when you float a bond, I don't know what it's gonna be.
okay.
But most of them right now is 4.5 to 5%.
Okay, Roger, could you talk us through the assumptions that were made that were just presented? This would have been the little sheet that you got handed, I think, at the end in terms of,
I guess when you look at Mark's numbers and kind of the two pieces that he put together, Roger, let's start with the first one with the new building and the parking bond estimate. Do you feel like all of those things that you see are good numbers for no better term? Correct. You get to 29, we put in 7 million, we've already basically put in 4. So we've already brought that down, and so it'd be 3 million cash, and then there's 22 million that we would bond. Does that make sense?
What I've seen. If anything, bond issuance costs could be high on here for a $22 million bond.
Could be what? Oh, it's high on his sheet? Yeah.
Could be higher on this sheet, yes.
so you have funds set aside, 3 million to contribute to this? Okay.
And then the 25-year term would match the lease. And so at the end of 25 years, everything would be, as Teddy said, the city's. And this, and one of the things about this, as Ball Corp is putting the extra money in, though, the city will own this.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing you were talking about, and I don't mean to stir up anything, about the ball court contribution under the new schedule. We will always get $1 million from them.
Right.
It'll be the greater of $1 million or the difference in the delta between the bond payments and what the revenues are coming in. Till the revenues supersede the bond payments, then we get $1 million.
So the example going to the second sheet, as Roger says that, let's just arbitrarily say annual gross venue license fee would, the delta would be $2 million. Ball Corps would pay that. Next year, let's just arbitrarily say it gets to 1.7. So the minimum would be $1 million, or if it,
We get down to about year 6 on this, where it's 105,000 positive, they would give us $1 million. That's my understanding of how it would work.
yeah, which then means we would be $900,000 to, again, going back to where it's more than what the bond payment is, like it is right now. So right now, again, Margie, just make sure y'all do this right there. Right now, we regenerated $3.6 million last year. That was 2023, $3.6 million that was in these pots. The bond payment was 3.1. So it was $500,000 over. No, that comes in, that would be part of how you pay for that. You have that delta right now. Yeah,
You mind if I bring up one more thing?
you keep going.
We can't split the lodging taxes 50/50. We can't do that. I cannot account for it. These things are earmarked. We have 3 separate funds that don't go into one big pot. They're separated out into 3 pots. I can't split them. We're gonna have to keep that part the way it is now.
Which is how this spreadsheet is current. So when you have these numbers here, guys, so maybe I can, and let me help with these if I could. If everybody look at this sheet, you guys. So basically, when you see the green, that's the new Marriott slash, what's the other one? Courtyard, yeah, so that's the first hotel is the new one coming up. The second one is in town Madison, the new one around the corner, Homewood Suites. And the third one is the hotel that's being built outside of the city of town Madison. So those 3 hotels will come online. K is what we already have set up right now for lodging tax. So by the end of this year, all of these coming across in 2025 would generate, that's where you get the 2.6 million. And that's with the current structure that we have, and it keeps growing that way.
I think this goes faster than the other one.
It does.
Roger, as far as either investing $12.5 million on a 1-story and a parking lot and finishing parking lot alone, or building it out where you have revenue coming in, as far as the city-wise goes, what do you think makes the most sense with these numbers?
I'm gonna say be doing the whole thing.
If it was me personally, I would build the whole thing, if it was my money.
I think in the long run, we would be better off doing the whole thing.
Because you're going to be $12.5 million, you're going to throw $12.5 million away, and you can never generate any revenue. Now you got somebody wanting to put.
Generating money. That we're pouring money in, we're pouring it into a hole that you're not gonna generate anything from.
Correct,
If you build up, you bring in more revenue.
correct. And you got somebody helping fund it.
Roger, I have a question. Okay. In a perfect world where money was not an issue, this would be a no-brainer. You build the whole thing, you go with it. But we have to look at roads. We have to look at every single need in our city. If we do this, what does that do to the rest of our capital improvements?
It's not gonna hurt it that much.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Is that because this is going to be another bond?
Be another bond, we make payments. But we've got another fund, we can pull bond. In fact, this will be a GO bond, which basically would be paid out of that other fund. It brings in more than enough to make the payment
Okay.
of all this revenue.
So we currently have enough revenue coming into the city to make the difference in the bond payment, this new bond payment, plus continue to do the improvements on the roads that exist in this, that need help in our city. Thank you.
Is it possible to put a cap on the number that we decide? If we decide we're leaning towards the four-story building, and one contractor has it for 19 and one has it for 30, is it possible to say in the resolution, this is our cap? Ball Corps will have to come up, like say we
exceed.
agree, pardon?
Not to exceed.
Right, not to exceed. So we say 19 million, it's 19.7. So if we say $20 million, not to exceed, and it comes in at 20,150,000, can that 150,000 be paid for by Ball Corps?
I think they already are. I mean, that's what the backstop does.
I just
I think
want
he's
to,
going to be the one calling uncle. If it comes in at 35 million, he'll be like, I ain't backstopping it. Or maybe he is, I don't know.
okay.
But he's the one calling uncle.
Hey, he's taking the risk.
And at that
Well-
point too, I think you're telling the contractor, I mean, all points aside, you're telling the contractor, hey, this is the max we're gonna pay. What if they're at 12 million? What if I'm a contractor and I'm going, man, this building really costs $12 million, but you told me you're not gonna pay any, a dime more than 20. Well, guess
Well,
what
then
your
it
cost
becomes
is?
$20 million,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna take that 8 million and, I'm gonna go, have a good time.
Yeah, well,
When we,
I-
if I may address. your
Sure, yes, ma'am.
question, when we put this out for a bond, we're going to be setting a cap.
Okay.
That bond, that's one thing. The second thing is we're going to go through value engineering. If we get these proposals, if we get a proposal or a bid in, and it's a bit over, we're going to start, addressing the project in that way from a value engineering perspective. And there are items here, right, in just getting the estimates on the design development documents that, we probably, as staff, wouldn't recommend we go forward with, right? So I think that there will be effectively a cap, and we also will have the ability to scrub the project a bit, if you will, to bring costs down if we need to. We did that on the first project, and we certainly expect to do it on this.
Are you gonna be the police on this one?
No, I was going to try
You
and
did a
give
really
up.
good job last time.
You are a great bag cop.
I'm good with a red pen. I was going to try and give up my badge, but, I got Gerald right here. So
Girl, that's a lot of pressure, just so you know.
I keep handing it off to him, but I will assist if I can.
Mary Beth, we talked earlier today, so understand if this gets walked on, the only thing, and that's the intention behind this meeting, is to understand whether we bring that forward as part of the council meeting. But the only thing we would vote on tonight is whether or not we increase the scope of the current contract with the architect to be for 4 stories.
Yes, to
For the
prepare.
drawings.
Or the
Just for
drawings
the
only.
drawings only,
Yeah,
yes.
with the purpose of, okay, you have that, now you go back out, you can get the, you can get the no crap quote of what's the firm fixed price to go do this.
We were not planning, just for sake of time, we're not planning on going out and getting another cost estimate. 'cause
I'm not
that-
talking about an estimate, I'm talking
Okay.
about a quote to
Oh,
actually
yeah,
enter
an
into
actual
contract.
quote,
Yeah, yeah,
putting it
yeah.
out to bid.
Yeah, piece. No, no, no.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so with that being said, if that does carry through, are there any off-ramps? Are there any options to help mitigate risk? Let's say it does come in and it blows GC1 out of the water and it comes in at 35 or 40 and we go, hey, no go, we can't do that. We got to punt and we just got to do number 1. How do we do that without getting number 2 on?
So the only way we do that is if we have the architect prepare both sets of plans. Because if we wait until we get to bid opening, we have no chance of meeting schedule for the clubhouse in April of '26.
Okay.
So we either have to prepare both, or we, commit to doing the 4-story. Now, obviously, if you get bids in on the 4-story and it's a problem, which we're not expecting, but
Sure.
if it is, then, we've got an issue. But again, we've gotten 2 sets of cost estimates on this, and interestingly, we've gotten that kind of range. So when, Gerald is saying, yeah, I'm thinking it's in the 25 range, right, somewhere in the middle, it's because he's talked with a bunch of contractors. So, and I think those are the numbers that, Balcor has been looking at as well.
I think having both sets of plans is a good idea. I mean, more information is always better.
But how much is the cost difference to do two
Well,
sets of plans?
Correct.
versus
And
one
we
set
would-
of
So
plans?
you've already approved the single
one.
level.
Right.
The four-story plan construction set is about 1.2 million. And so we're, asking to walk on the preparation of the 4 stories tonight, right? So it would be substituting what you've already approved with this new contract. If you want to have the architect prepare both in tandem, you can. It's just an additional, whatever that original contract was, I have it like 400,
Right.
600,
It's a waste of money.
something like
I
that.
think,
It is a
look,
waste of money.
it is. We're proposing, we've already authorized 600,000 for the first plan. Now we're suggesting that we're going to walk on a $1.2 million plan, and we can't decide which plan we're using. I mean, that seems like a waste of money.
Well, the plan will give us more information, so we'll have more tangible figures. That's the only advantage to having both sets of
Yeah, and
plans.
This is a
Renee,
guess.
my whole
Mark. You're-
thing
You're
behind
hoping you're hoping that inflation doesn't happen. You're hoping that the
prices
job
are-
market is always good. There's a ton of stuff that goes into this. I mean, and so you're talking about $2 to $3 million here difference. You're talking about, one person says 22, another one says 25.
Right.
And
And it
contractor.
could come in at 30.
It could, but I think again, that comes back to that. I can tell you, I guarantee you, whoever bid this, GC1 or GC2, they've got profit margin in there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they're willing to accept a certain amount, and they know that they've got some contingency to go down on their price.
Right.
So, you've got some buffer there. I mean, to me, I'll just make it in simple terms. We can go and add a garage onto our house to park our car in, okay? And when you resell your house, you're not gonna get a whole lot of value for that.
Right.
Or we can go add a master suite, and somebody else is gonna pay for it. And when we're done living in it, we can sell it for more.
Right.
That's what we're looking at here. I mean, why, if someone wants to add a master bath onto your home for free, and you get to keep it, but that's just my,
Mary Beth, one other thing too, from a functionality standpoint, it's not only adding the 4 stories. What does it allow us to, from a football standpoint, we had one football game. Can you talk a little bit about what it does there to give some more functionality for non-baseball events that the community is looking for?
Yes, so the 4-story building is being designed in such a way that it could accommodate a football game. They had a college game already, which was very successful, but this would allow for 2 sets of goalposts, a more standardized game. And it's my understanding that the NCAA wasn't going to agree to another one like they had agreed to previously. It builds in the opportunity, as Balcor has indicated, for different concerts, different sporting tournaments. And this does give us effectively a 3rd clubhouse, which is because we've got the existing visitor clubhouse, which we would retain. So it allows for tournaments and that type of thing. And Balcor can speak to some of the programming. The other thing I wanted to just add on to Maura's comment is just a reminder to you guys that we accept the lowest responsible bid. We're not going after the highest bid.
Oh, right.
So if we got in a bid for 30, and we got in a bid for 25, and we got in a bid for 20, we're going to look, and make sure we've got the lowest bid that's a responsible bid. So I think the fact that we've seen some pricing that's on that lower end, understanding, that they may not be all inclusive, I think is a really good sign. If all of our estimates that we were getting were in at 30 million, then I think as staff, we would all be thinking something else. But just a reminder that it is the lowest bid that wins the day, lowest responsible bid.
John, you had something you were going to say?
I just was saying, the only reason I was throwing out the idea or throwing out the thing of having sets of drawings for both is while there's the cost side of this, there's also the schedule side of it. And if all of a sudden you get down the road And the lowest responsible bidder was out of bid. And that's a road we can't go down. Then we've also lost all the schedule to get back and getting the one-story done. So that's the only reason I was throwing that out, is that's a risk. And at the end of the day, if we want to take that risk, that's our decision to take. I'm just communicating that that's a risk.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Mary Beth, can you come up one more time, please? I'm sorry, didn't have a chance because I didn't want to interrupt John.
Should have worn your tennis shoes.
That's right. Can you also talk a little bit about if we're walking this on, why that's so critical, and when you were talking about the architect and where the architect's truly able to make a difference on this timing, or her timing, or their timing?
The architect had put together a very detailed schedule. You guys already approved the early release package to get the demo and the excavation plans prepared. We had to do that in order to be able to have a chance of getting the clubhouse completed and open in April of '26. By your approving, getting the first story plans going, which you did at your last meeting, that gives us a chance of getting the clubhouse approved. I talked with the architect again today in light of the various conversations. And given how tight our schedule is, we basically have 2 weeks at the end of this, at the end of 2025 or beginning of April, or the beginning of 2026. So it's not a lot of wiggle room to get the building done. But because we're going into holiday seasons in November, in December, in the beginning of January, they're going to be loading up all of their staff to work on these plans in the month of November. And so he did not have any comfort level whatsoever of, us waiting, let's say, on the 4-story decision for even a month. He's like, we're just not going to be able to do it. They have computer models that they build their plans in. There's a dedicated model for the 4-story. There's a separate model for the 1-story that they've been using as part of the design development that we've done thus far. It's a lot of work for them to do it in parallel, which is why we would need 2 separate contracts. So, again, the architect just did not feel like we had any time to spare to be successful. The overall schedule calls for the clubhouse to be completed by April of 2026, and then the 4 stories, the additional 3 stories would take about another 6 months to finish out. Again, Major League Baseball isn't worried about the timing of that. It does affect when we can get revenue, right? But, and so that's another 6 months.
Thank you. I thought it was important, yeah.
Okay, I have one question for Mr. Holland, and I know that I'm going to ask this question because I talked to you about this before, but in terms of looking at which way to go with the 1-story or the 4-story, and I appreciate that we've come a long way from when we started this conversation, and Greg has been diligent in trying to get the backstop for you to cover the shortfall until our lodging taxes can catch up. But I looked ahead at the potential lease agreement that we would then have to amend. And there's a clause in Article 4 of that lease agreement that is currently in our current lease agreement that you're proposing that we continue. And it states that in the event of a failure by Ball Corps to make any such payments, these new payments as you've defined, and the backstop, the city's sole and exclusive remedy for such event of default shall be to terminate this agreement in accordance with the terms hereof. So we have no way of guaranteeing that you're going to actually pay the backstop because we can't go after you for the differential.
That's language that's in the current lease, so that risk currently exists. What I was told by our baseball attorney is that that language is in most MLB stadium leases, primarily because Major League Baseball won't allow teams, owners, to encumber their franchise. I can't go out and borrow against the value of our franchise and pledge the franchise as collateral. I can't put the franchise out as collateral to secure a lease. What I can tell you from a practical standpoint is that if Ball Court didn't make their lease payments, MLB doesn't care about Ball Court. MLB cares about this market, and they care about the trash pandas. So if we didn't make our lease payments, then the city, or not the city, Major League Baseball is going to remove Ball Court as, they're going to terminate our license. That would wipe out all of my equity in the club and all of my investors' equity in the club, and they bring in replacement owners. So I feel very, very confident that you as a city, as long as the facility standards for Major League Baseball continue to get met, you're going to have a baseball team here. It would be absolutely foolish for me not to make the payments. But I'm happy to let Tim Hafner and the city attorney kind of work all that out. That's what I learned today. So you were the first one to point that out. That's not a change that we propose making to the lease. That's in the existing lease.
Yes, yes, you've been very forthright about that.
Just so that you understand kind of the practical side of it, I would be absolutely foolish. We flush, we've got $20 million in this thing, plus.
Well, and you're no fool, but you could sell the team next year.
Well, that's
Somebody else.
Yeah, the same owner, so presumably they're going to pay more than we did for it, right? That owner is probably going to be a sophisticated owner, and they're not going to flush their equity either. Right? So I understand it's a risk, but let's let the attorneys talk about it. But just from a practical standpoint, we have to meet our lease payments.
Well, yes, but we've also had terms in this lease agreement that had to be met but weren't. We have been short on payments under the previous manager. And you have done everything to set things right that you can. And I think you're an honorable person. I think you have every intent on making this payment. But what happens when something happens that doesn't allow that to happen? When you sell it to another person? Or for me to agree for the amended lease, having some type of guarantee that you're going to actually make the payment so that we can make the bond payment is really important.
Yeah, well, we'll have to sort that out. I don't have a creative solution for you on the spot. Sorry.
Right, I understand that, and you're right. We need to get the attorneys to look at that. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you for bringing that up, Renee. We cannot leave the city. I mean, we're not the individual investors here. We represent the city, and we can't put the city at risk in any way. We'll not do that.
But judging from, let's just take a temperature check here, in terms of walking on the $1.2 million architecture plan, without notice to the public, we're going to walk this on tonight to vote on. Do we want to do this?
Start at that end of the dais, please.
Yes, for me, absolutely yes.
Okay.
We said we're going to vote on this. We said we're going to have a work session. We're not hiding it from anybody. I mean, we talked about it when we voted on the one story.
We haven't had data until this time. I'll let council do whatever they want to. I will say this, in this same scenario in 2010, I went to Minneapolis to talk to Target, because in the Target agreement where we were paying $6.5 million at that time, which is about $100 million in today's world, it seems like, Target had they did not in their contract have that they would guarantee that they would build the Target when we gave them the money. So I went up there and said, what do you, and in essence, he said, our contract, same thing, kind of Mark was talking about, yada, yada, yada. But I can tell you this, we've never agreed to something with the city and not done what we said we would do. And it was a risk, and they did, and that's now generating about $2.2 million for the city and $500 or $600 million, or 1,000 for the schools. So there is precedent for taking a risk that's a calculated risk. I'll just simply say that.
Okay.
I'll say, given what data I've seen here and the discussion I've seen, I'm okay with walking it on. I'm not happy about doing it. The timing of this is not good, and from the standpoint of, I mean, making this a last-minute thing is not ideal, and is not.
We would have loved to have a work session Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but we didn't have all you guys here where we could have the questions that we're asking, the discussions that we had. So 100% understand. I guess that kind of falls on us, but we didn't want to do it where everyone didn't hear what was going on. So that's part of why it's coming today. But it does, We have one choice to meet the criteria. I'll just, whatever you guys.
Okay, we've got 2 that want to walk it on.
I'm walking.
3 that want to walk it on tonight.
I do not wish to walk it on. I like to have more transparency, let the people know what it is exactly we've been voting on, give them time to understand it, give us time to really understand it too. I don't understand why 2 weeks is a problem if we do it 2 weeks from now. I don't understand the rush for tonight.
You don't meet the deadline from Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Beth explained that clearly, that the
2 weeks.
plans need to be done. We need to approve it tonight for the plans to be done essentially by the end of the year. Is that a fair statement?
You know, and
Right.
And here's the other part of that too, Karen. I mean, you know, Mark just came up basically and kind of laid on the sword, didn't mean to, but, you know, our agreement is with Major League Baseball, right? Ultimately, that's who we need to satisfy.
And Major League Baseball needs us to do the clubhouse. The Major League Baseball doesn't need the 4 stories.
Well,
That's where we are different.
No. So I agree with you on that, but here's the thing, that delay you're talking about, that puts you out of disagreement with Major League Baseball.
It's 2 weeks.
And, well, I mean, you know, we've had it.
Okay, even if
we've-
it wasn't 2 weeks, what if it was next Monday?
Yeah.
I mean, could we give people notice so they could see what we're doing before we take a vote? That's all I'm asking.
I mean, it is possible to do a special called meeting.
It is.
Yes.
This one item on it, give people a little bit of notice.
Yes.
Give our attorneys time to talk.
Yes.
And, I mean, we could even set it for later this week. That is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that gives me heartburn is I wish this had been on the agenda and could have been removed if it wasn't necessary, rather than, okay, yes, we said we were going to have a work session about this. Our citizens have had no warning that this was going to be voted on tonight. And will not have any warning until we amend the agenda if that happens during the meeting. I personally would prefer if we did a special called meeting in even Wednesday, you know, just sometime to give the citizens at least a couple hours that they could shoot us some emails and say, hey, this or that or the other. It's not that I'm saying, I mean, I think this is a, you know, it makes sense financially. I understand that. Roger has told us that. I mean, something that will generate revenue versus a hole in the ground that you're throwing money in, okay. But my heartburn is with the public notice, not with the items that we are discussing in any way.
When will
I'm gonna stop.
When will Megan be back?
Next week.
Next week. So is it,
Megan's worked all day, just call, I mean, she talked to everybody.
right, she's
all
out of
day.
town.
She's worked, it's not like she's not
Right,
working.
I'm just saying that, you know, for her to be here, not that you're not doing a great job, Tim. But that could be an option. A week from today would be Monday. Megan would be back in town. It'll give us some more time to kind of digest this. Give our citizens an opportunity to reach out. Maybe the city, Samantha can put something out of general information of what we're discussing.
So we've got 3 who want to wait till Monday. We've got 3 who want to walk it on tonight.
So I got a question for those that don't want to walk it on. And I understand transparency and, you know, I mean, we can be transparent. They can see the numbers. You know, if someone is going to give the city $100 or we're going to spend $50, is that going to change your vote when a citizen goes, you know what, I don't think that's a good deal? I mean, is it really?
I think it's not so much that, but just putting out the information that this is even being considered. I mean, we just built the stadium. It is 4 years old. This is essentially adding another $20 million, literally half of the value to it.
I would understand if this, you know, it's just, we're transparent, you know, it's not going to change my vote, but we'll do whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Could we meet, Greg's out of town next Monday, so that does not work. What about Friday noon?
I will be at my mother-in-law's funeral on Friday.
Okay, not doing that.
Sorry, Karen.
That's what we're gonna run into.
That's where we're here at. I mean, guys, seriously, that's why it's tonight.
Okay.
We can't get everybody together,
Next Monday works.
but okay.
Tuesday?
I'm out of town Monday through
Well, if it has to be tonight, as the mayor says, then I think, you walk it on and we vote our conscience. And it's
Okay.
either dead or alive.
So, well, that's 4 walk-ons.
Okay, then we'll walk it on tonight. We've got everybody here.
And just to clarify, walking on the full 4-story building. Drawings, the drawings for the, because we already have the 1-story.
No, we're not going to have the one
No,
story.
but I thought we already had the 1-story. We had
already
already
agreed with
funded,
it.
right, we funded it, right?
But we're having a
It's on
pivot.
contract, we're changing the scope to be the 4-story. That's it.
Story was approved, and
Okay.
you may recall that we've had, I think this is maybe the 3rd work session on this, and the cost of the 4-story architectural drawings was presented at the work session. So this isn't the first time that
Right.
the public or you all, I mean, granted, it's not on the agenda, but we've discussed the 1.2 million and the 4 million at least once
Right.
before in the public work session.
Right.
But you did approve the 1-story
Story, right.
currently.
And now we have more accurate information on the total cost.
We just have an updated number. They're not that much different, frankly, but.
Okay, we're going to need to adjourn the work session. So we are adjourned, going to mute the dais.